Hello and welcome back. In this video, I just want to quickly show you some of the attacks that are common by black hat hackers. Now, we're going to cover two of the most common types of the attacks. The phishing attack, where the target is pretty much tricked into submitting their private information into a fake web page, and we're going to cover how a black hat hacker can infect a target with a Trojan. Now, Trojans and malware is something that we will talk about in more details in the next lecture, but here we will just showcase the most simple example of it. Okay, let's start off with the phishing attack first. So what I currently have on my screen is a virtual machine called Kali Linux. Now, if you're coming from my ethical hacking course, you're more than familiar with all of the tools that we will cover and the Kali Linux operating system itself. But if this is the first course on hacking and cybersecurity for you, Kali Linux is simply an operating system that is specifically made for ethical hackers and penetration testers. The reason is because it comes already with many tools pre-installed that hackers use, and it pretty much makes our life easier. Nonetheless, more about this later on. For now, let's just show the attacks real quick. So what I'm going to do to run the most simple phishing attack is I'm going to use a tool called BlackEye version 2. All I have to do, and you will notice how easy this is, so pretty much anyone with a little bit of knowledge can do this, which makes it even more dangerous. All I have to do to run this tool is to type this command: sudo bash and then the tool name. It will ask me for my Kali Linux password, and that's about it. Now, what I have to choose from is these websites right here. And what this tool will do is whichever website I choose out of all of these 37 options, is it will create a fake page that will look almost identical to the real page. That way the target won't really notice the difference and they might submit their username and password into our fake page. Let's go with Instagram. So what I have to do is I have to type number 1 since it's tagged number 1, press enter, and just wait for this tool to set everything up. Once the tool sets everything up, there are two ways that we can access this fake page. We can use the link generated by ngrok and send it to our target, and we can also go and visit the link on our localhost. If I type localhost, it will load the page, or should I say the fake Instagram page, where it will prompt the user for specifying their email address and the password. As you may notice, this does look pretty legit if you look at the page itself, but what we can notice is that the link is kind of different. And this is number one thing that you should take a look at whenever you're entering your private information anywhere. Check whether the link is from the original website and that it is not a phishing link. This is usually the number one thing that gives away phishing attacks. Okay, let's say the target didn't notice that this is a phishing link, the phishing website, and they specified the username, let's say test@gmail.com, and the password, let's say the password is 123456, just for the purposes of this lecture. They click on login, don't save, the page will load. Back here in our terminal, you will notice that we actually got the account name and the password. So now we successfully stole this person's details, their username and their password. And the funniest thing is that the target might not even notice, because right now it loaded the official Instagram page right after they typed their credentials. The phishing page was made so that whenever they type in their credentials, it will automatically redirect them to the real page, as we can see right here by the link, where they might think right now that they perhaps typed something incorrectly. Perhaps they typed the password incorrectly, therefore it's asking them to log in again. Then they will log in again, this time it will work, and they will not think about this anymore. Now, do you see how easy this can get? And as you saw, it's not really hard to do. All you need to know is to download this tool, run it, and pretty much you're set to run a phishing attack. Now, of course, this is one of the most simple phishing attacks, but it can still trick some users. These phishing attacks can get much more complex and harder to notice, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we just want to show how they look like. Okay, let's move on to the second attack, which is simply running a Trojan on the target system. So to do that, we must first create it. And to create the most simple Trojan or malware, I simply used MSF Venom. I ran this command. So this is the command that I used. I used the MSF Venom tool to create the payload for Windows. The payload is using reverse TCP. In other sense, it's pretty much a reverse shell. The payload itself is called Meterpreter. I set my local host, the IP address of this machine, this virtual machine. I chose the port number to connect to. I set the platform of the target to be Windows, the file to be exe, since that is executable for Windows, and I named it shell.exe. I already created this program and it's right here on my desktop, as you can see right here. Now, this is also one of the most simple reverse shells that you can create. And this really isn't a Trojan, as we will learn in the next lecture once we talk about what exactly a Trojan is. But this shell.exe, which I also transferred right here on my desktop of Windows 10 target machine, can easily be transferred into a fake, let's say, PDF file or a fake image or pretty much any type of file that I want. I could have also changed the icon, making it seem like a legit program. But for this lecture, I'm not going to do that since that is out of the aspect for this section. What I want to do is simply just run it. We will learn in the next lecture that Trojans must be ran in order to infect the target. So in order to run it, I need to use something called a listener. Now, listener is simply something that will listen for the incoming connections. And don't worry if you don't know any of these tools, it doesn't really matter. I'm just showing here how simple these attacks can be. So once this tool is opened, all I have to do is set up my listener, set the payload to be the exact payload that I chose for my reverse shell, and set the local host or the IP address and the local port. Now once I press run, it will listen for the incoming connections on this IP and on this port. All the target has to do is to double click on this shell. And that's pretty much it. Now imagine that this was an image, or it appeared to be an image, and they just wanted to check it out to see how it opens up. And you'll notice that nothing really happens. On the target machine, there's nothing that changed. It only appears as if this program didn't execute at all. But if I go back to my virtual machine, where I have Kali Linux running, you will see that we have session 1 opened. And if I run this command, get user ID, here we see that I am on the Windows 10 machine. And from here I can run whatever I want. I can run ifconfig to check out all the networking interfaces on the target machine. I can run dir command, and this command will simply print all the files on the target's desktop. As you can see, these files right here are these files right here. I can also enter a shell within this Meterpreter session, and here I can pretty much type whichever command I want, and it will be exactly the same as if I was using the command prompt on the Windows 10 machine. Let's close this. And there are also some cool commands that I can run, such as screenshot, which will screenshot the target screen, and it will save it in the current directory that I'm at. It also gives the path where the screenshot is saved, so it's saved in this black eye directory. Let's go there. And here is the screenshot. Here it is. Now the screenshot might appear as if it's a screenshot from Kali Linux, but that is only because I'm running my Kali Linux virtual machine on the Windows 10 target machine. You can see that it actually took a screenshot of the Windows 10 machine because here are the Windows icons down there. So there is no limit as to what I can do right now on the target machine. I can spectate a webcam, I can listen on the microphone, I can change files, upload files, download files, delete files, steal all the files, I can do pretty much anything that I want. And all the target had to do is double-click this program. And on their desktop, it appears that nothing else is happening. Okay, you get the point. These are the two most common attacks out there by black hat hackers. And you notice how easy it is to run some of them. Not to mention that we only ran the most simple attacks in this lecture, and even these simple attacks can be effective against some people. Nonetheless, this was just a small demonstration, and now let's move on to discussing and dissecting malware in the next lecture. See you there.